Hello, BookTube. I've got a little bit of mail for you today and a slightly tired little bean. It's very exhausting work yelling at all the dogs in the neighborhood before they approach so that she can sniff them all over. But they're not to move. don't think that she's not, the fact that she's not biting you means she wants to play with you. No, she just wants to sniff you. And also her screaming at humans to come up and fuss over her. So she's a little bit tired. But it's a beautiful day and we've got some mail. Are we feeling cocky, BookTube? Are we feeling like we're going to be able to get through mail without saying anything cancelable? let's give it a look and see. This is first up. Oh, the first thing I see is an invoice. Good Lord. I'll get that out of there. What have we got here? Oh, no. Oh, oh, fantastic. Okay, this comes out in August. Oh, she's at it again. Oh, it's one of my favorite authors. This is Wendy Holden. This is her new book, The Princess. And it is not about little Frida. It is, in fact, about Princess Diana. From the author of The Royal Governess and the Duchess. She wrote a book about Croffy. She wrote a book of The Royal Governess that I reviewed, and I interviewed Wendy Holden about it. We had a great talk. And then she did a book. I still want to talk to her about it, about the Duchess of Windsor, about Wallis Warfield Simpson. A sympathetic book about Mrs. Simpson. The nerve. Knowing what I think about Mrs. Simpson, she went ahead and wrote a sympathetic novel anyway. I still need to have a conversation with her about that. The book is not brand new. But that doesn't matter. It's an eternal subject. I bet we could have a conversation about it that would make a lot of you very entertained. But this is her new book. Princess Diana was the most famous woman in the world, celebrated across the globe for her poise and glamour. But before stepping out of the royal carriage at St. Paul, she spent 19 years as the shy, awkward Lady Diana Spencer. In this book, the best-selling author Wendy Holden offers a fresh take on one of the world's most famous figures in the final book of the Royal Outsiders of Windsor trilogy. The incredibly well-researched historical fiction displays how the palace, the British royal family, were forever changed by Princess Diana. Wendy Holden is a troublemaker. She's a ne'er-do-well. Because Croffy, okay, they were all outsiders. Croffy was an outsider because she wrote a tell-all memoir. She betrayed the trust of the Windsor family and wrote a tell-all memoir. She knew perfectly well that would be catastrophically frowned upon by the palace, and she was right. She became persona non grata, but she knew that ahead of time. She knew what she was doing. She could have not done it. She didn't. I don't think we need to say much about Wallis Warfield Simpson. I don't think we do. A brittle, talon-clawed American adventuress. Not a sympathetic detail about her at all, unless you're willing to believe the stupid 1930s romantic movie melodrama claptrap that came out of her mouth during the abdication crisis. Oh, leave me, honey. Oh, leave me, David. Don't give up the empire for me. It was all she wanted. It was the only thing she wanted. Good. Somebody becomes Duchess of Windsor by accident. I swear. And, I realize it can be a touchy subject, but not everyone was enamored of Princess Diana. Okay? Not everyone saw her as the poor, doe-eyed waif that she very consciously presented herself as to the American public and the British public. In other words, I'm sorry to alarm you, feel free to sit down first. This is another one of those very rare subjects in which Christopher Hitchens and I agreed completely. You don't come to power innocently, okay? No one does that. Anyway, I can't wait. I don't think I will wait. This comes out in August. I love this author. I love her books. You're going to, if you have not read The Royal Governess and even The Duchess, you're going to love them. Absolutely love them. I don't think I'm going to be able to wait until August for this. I think I'll probably just read it tonight. And maybe this will be the kick in the pants that I need to get Wendy on this show, to get her on this channel. Not to talk about Princess Diana, maybe. Maybe she wants to, and maybe you'd be interested in that. But to talk about Mrs. Simpson. That would be fun. We've been going back and forth on how to arrange that for years. Anyway, what is this next one? What is this next one? What on earth? Oh, great. Okay. This is for the Martha's Vineyard Gazette, which I show on this channel from time to time. It's a broadsheet newspaper for the island of Martha's Vineyard off the coast of Massachusetts. And by wonderful happenstance, I am their books editor. No, I'm not their books editor. I'm their I'm their book reviewer. And my editor's a great guy. I have a fantastic time doing it, just fantastic. But the Vineyard is seasonal. Everything about the Vineyard is seasonal. It's now an incredible vacation destination. Those of you who are planning a vacation to Massachusetts and you're thinking, well, we better get a hotel in Boston or whatnot, you could think about instead going to the Vineyard. There are affordable hotels there, and you will not see anything like it. But it's even seasonal in its books coverage. So during the off season, when 200,000 tourists are not cramming their way onto the island, there are fewer books. I get less work from the Gazette during the off season, but we are approaching the on season. Granted, it's only April, but things are still warming up on the Vineyard. And this my editor sends me books, and he's a great guy. He sends me whatever will work for the Vineyard. For the Vineyard Gazette, he pursues an editorial policy where this is a Martha's Vineyard paper. So the books, even the books under review, will have to do with Martha's Vineyard. They will either be written on some other subject by a Vineyard author or a Vineyard resident, or there'll be a book about Martha's Vineyard, or both. But not otherwise. And I've often said on this channel that that's a totally legitimate decision on the part of an editor, on the part of a book section editor. You can make one decision or the other. Now, in the meantime, when I first took this gig as the book reviewer for the Martha's Vineyard Gazette, I was not a book section editor. I was not an art section editor. I hadn't been in decades. And now, through random, wonderful chance of the kind that only happens once in a lifetime, I actually am the print newspaper book section editor of a small newspaper in Georgia. So in other words, I have the rough equivalent of my Gazette editor's job, except I don't have nearly as many multimillionaires among my subscribers. I don't think I have any, unless maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let's not talk about that. But I made the opposite decision with my section. I don't believe there is such a thing as a local reader. I think readers range all over the universe. So my book's coverage is not local. The paper, Big Canoe News, does every once in a while feature a local author, but not on my section. It doesn't take up my real estate. My editor at the Gazette decided just the opposite. So what have we got here? This is by Donna Gordon, and it's called What Ben Franklin Would Have Told Me. And that is our author. So I don't want to burst any bubbles, but considering that she's quite good looking, I would say that I know what Ben Franklin would have told her. It would have been printable in a family newspaper, but this must have some other thing involved here. What Ben Franklin Would Have Told Me explores the story of Lee, a vibrant 13-year-old boy who's facing premature death from progeria, a premature aging disease. His caretaker, Tomas, a survivor of Argentina's dirty war who is searching for his missing wife, who was pregnant when they were both disappeared, and Lee's single mother, Cass, overwhelmed by love for her son and the demands of her work as a Broadway makeup artist. When a mix-up prevents Cass from taking Lee on his, quote, final wish trip to Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia to pursue his interest in the life of Benjamin Franklin, Tomas, who has discovered potential leads to his family in both cities, offers to accompany Lee on the trip. Oh, so he doesn't get the trip. But then Tomas, his caretaker, says, I'll take him. As one flees memories of death and the other hurdles inevitably toward it, they each share unsettling truths and find themselves transformed in the process. Set during the Ronald Reagan presidency, this lyrical novel transcends an adventure story to take the reader on an unforgettable journey which explores love, family, and the inevitability of change. Oh, that sounds wonderful. That sounds absolutely wonderful. It sounds like it's going to have an absolutely heartbreaking ending. But why am I getting this? Donna Gordon graduated from Brown with a Stegner Fellowship at Stanford, Penn Discovery, and a Plowshares Discovery. Good Lord. Okay. So people love her work. All those things are hard to get. She received the New Letters Publication Prize in Fiction, and her writing has appeared in Tin House, Plowshares, Story Quarterly, Post Road, The Quarterly, Poetry, Northwest, and the Boston Globe magazine, and other places. Her work with former political prisoners culminated in, quote, Putting Faces on the Unimaginable, Portraits and Interviews with Former Prisoners of Conscience. And this is her debut novel. No mention of the Vineyard. But I'm assuming she has a Vineyard connection. My editor wouldn't send it to me. Okay, great. Fantastic. That goes on the list right away. That goes on the list for me. Let's see what this next one is. Wait a minute. Oh, yes, okay. All right, well, this is another Martha's Vineyard book, but not the kind I want. I am in an ongoing battle with the aforementioned editor about this particular book. I would like to have my way, but you know how editors are. This is Washed Ashore, Family, Fatherhood, and Finding Home on Martha's Vineyard. And it is by Bill Evell, who is my editor. I have insisted to him for months now that I review this book in the pages of the Martha's Vineyard Gazette. But he is an editor of the old school, and he says no, as well he should. Of course, that is Caesar's wife must be above suspicion. That is an unbreakable appearance of conflict of interest. I've told him, anybody who reads my work, anybody who ever has, going back 40 years, is going to know that I am not going to praise your book just because you're my editor. And the people who don't know that about me won't ever suspect it from my review, I promise. And your readers already know that you're a terrific writer. He writes for the Gazette all the time. So they're not going to be surprised that your book is being reviewed in the paper. But no, he insists. Oh my God. Okay, this has blurbs by Geraldine Brooks, the author of March. It has Gary Steingart, Lisa Taddeo, and Raphael Warnock. Senator Raphael Warnock blurbed this book. I'd love to know the story behind that. This is a Vineyard book. What have we got here? Since he was a boy, Bill Evell knew he wanted two things in life: to be a writer and a father. Being a minister's husband had not been on the list, having left the church as a teenager as soon as his parents stopped making him go each Sunday. In this book, Evell's life changes when his wife, Kathleen, takes a job as the first female pastor of a 350-year-old church on Martha's Vineyard, the island that was once home to generations of his ancestors. With their two small children in tow, the couple begins a new life 8 miles out at sea. Readers follow Evell's journey from stay-at-home dad to newspaper editor as he discovers what it means to be a writer, a father, and, after his wife's devastating breast cancer diagnosis, what it truly means to be a minister's husband. Washed Ashore is told in a series of linked essays, is poignant, funny, filled with faith, struggle, and light. So I don't have a pub sheet on this because it came to me from my editor, from the author. But you could all put this on your list. This is going to be wonderful. You are in the hands of a really good author here. And unfortunately, as with all of those old critical friends of mine out in the critical world, who, if you said to them, if you didn't know me and you didn't know that they knew me, and you went to them and said, I saw Steve reviewed, his editor's book in the Vineyard Gazette, and he praised it. You know how that goes. He was probably told to praise it. Those friends would laugh in that person's face. They would say, you don't know Steve, do you? You've never actually met him. Pity the editor who tells him he has to praise something. Those people know that about me. Unfortunately, those of you who've been watching this channel for a long time also know that about me. So a lot of these things, I imagine, are adapted from pieces that showed up in the Gazette. This is going to be wonderful. This is a great writer. So feel free to put it on your list. Feel free to note it. Washed Ashore. How wonderful. Oh, it's a pretty thing, too. So this is from Godine Press. Fantastic. Okay, so that's not a Vineyard Gazette book. Because so far, I am not getting my way, even though I'm stamping my foot quite a bit. I'm not getting my way. I'm not being allowed to review this in Bill's own paper. I want to, but... Anyway, let's move on to this last package, which feels very personal. It doesn't feel like something that comes from a publisher. So could it be a violation of rule number 1? Rule number 1 on this channel, for those of you who are new, is don't send me a book. Because it will be something I either already have or something that I don't want. So just don't do it. Even if in the course of a video I say, I really want something, by the time you get the book to me, I will probably already have it. So what have we got? Oh no! Okay, this is a perfect example. This is a perfect example of rule number one. This is another one of you sending me a hardcover copy of The Firm. Because I did an upcoming books video, and I mentioned that John Grisham is returning to the main character in The Firm for a new book coming out this year. And I mentioned during that video that I don't have a copy of The Firm and that I want one. I want a classic hardcover with the green dust jacket of this book. And no sooner had I said that than one of you fired off a copy that I think you simply bought on Amazon.com. And here, one of you has done the same thing. This is the same thing. You, very, very nice. This was very, very nice. I now have 2 copies of this thing, and I'm hoping it stops at 2. That was very, very nice. Don't get me wrong. I think it's wonderful that one of the reactions that you all have to these bookish conversations that we have every day is the desire to give me something. I've got lots of emails along these lines from people, and I don't understand it. Not really. I'm getting a lot more than I'm giving from these videos, so I don't understand the urge to give me something. But this is not the way to do it. I really appreciate it. But as I've said many, many times on this channel, if you want to give me something, if you want to give me a book, call in-store credit at the Brattle Bookshop. If you insist, then do that. Because that can't go wrong. And also that allows me to give you something, because in addition to me using that credit to get exactly what I want, there'll also be a Brattle Book Haul video about it. So feel free to do that. Simply call them on the phone. Make sure you're not calling the Brattle Theater. Make sure you're calling the Brattle Bookshop. And you probably won't even need to say my last name. You'll probably just need to say, I want to give Steve some credit. And probably whoever answers the phone will know exactly how to do that and what you're talking about. If you feel that urge, you shouldn't, because I'm getting more than I'm giving here. But if you feel that urge, please do that, instead of going to the bother of getting me a book. Especially since in this particular case, somebody beat you to it. Imagine a contest to get me a book, of all things, when I'm surrounded by books. But anyway, that is the mail. We have another copy of The Firm. We have Washed Ashore by Bill Evell. How happy I am to see this book. How wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Needless to say, Brattle Books, rereads, book clubs, other stuff that I got in the mail. Needless to say, this takes first place for tonight's reading. Then another Vineyard Gazette book, but this one I do get to review, What Ben Franklin Would Have Told Me by Donna Gordon. That was really touching. And finally, The Princess by Wendy Holden. I will try to get her on this channel to talk. We don't have to talk about Princess Diana, since that book doesn't come out until August. Maybe she'll come back for both. What I really want to do, we've put this up for so long, what I really want to do is have a Zoom chat with her about Mrs. Simpson and the abdication crisis. I'll work on it. This will be a kick for me to work on it. But in the meantime, that is the mail. I've got a smile on my face a mile wide to see my editor's book. How utterly wonderful. Oh my. I will report back about this thing and maybe even talk about it a little on camera. Maybe I can get him to talk about it on camera with me. I don't think there's a rule against that. But wonderful. Wonderful. Good mail day. So I'm going to wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.